Well, joining us now from central London is Sarah Dove. She is an education consultant with over 15 years' experience in alternative provisions, including pupil referral units. Sarah, thank you so much for talking to us here on Sky News. What do you make of the work that these two pupil referral units are doing with their children in their care?
So I think it's really important to recognise that the PRUs have been working with vulnerable young people who might have had a whole host of exclusions before they come to them. And these PRUs are often places where young people can feel like they belong and they're part of something bigger and part of a community. But also PRUs often have smaller classrooms and more staff to young people ratio, which means that they can look at the underlying causes of the reasons that they might have been excluded.
And it's obvious from Jason's report that the two pupil referral units that Sky News visited are doing a great job. They're making a big impact on young people's lives. I mean, are they a shining example? Are they an exception to the rule, or are most units across the country like that?
No, they're certainly not an exception to the rule. So in terms of Ofsted standards, we know that PRUs, pupil referral units and alternative provision are generally good to outstanding, and there's lots of really good practice happening out there as well.
Which is great to see, but if we have a look at the numbers, I mean, how worried are you by the fact that because of drugs and alcohol abuse, over 60% increase the number of children are being referred to these units in the first place?
It's a really important question, and I think it goes back to one of the reports that you were quoting, is that we need to have a deeper understanding about why these young people are using drugs. So it might be, for example, that actually young people are really traumatised and they're self-medicating, and we need to have a deeper understanding of that. And I think if mainstream schools are excluding in terms of zero tolerance as soon as they see drugs without getting a better understanding about why that young person might be taking drugs, then it goes against the public health approach that we want to take as a society. However, I would say that lots of schools do a lot of amazing work with young people, but in terms of funding issues and finances, it can be really, really challenging to work with very vulnerable young people that are part of an overall system where drug use might feel like a way of making themselves feel better in terms of anxiety and so on. There's also issues around waiting times for child and adolescent mental health services. So whilst that's kicking in and we're trying to give young people the support, that actually young people might be self-medicating and taking things into their own hands.
Were you surprised to hear in Jason's report there that one pupil saying she doesn't want to go back to mainstream school because of the support that she's had from this referral unit?
No, I'm not surprised at all. So some of my research that I'm doing looks at issues around what alternative provisions and pupil referral units are doing really well. And some of the young people that I spoke to who were attending pupil referral units spoke about the issues of belonging and feeling like they were part of a wider community. So hearing that a young person feels safe and confident in a pupil referral unit and is engaging in education doesn't surprise me at all.
So what's the way forward, do you think?
I think we need to build more sustainability in terms of mainstream schools, and lots of pupil referral units are already doing that. So whilst the pupil referral units that you looked at were working with young people who are permanently excluded, I also know that both pupil referral units work with young people in terms of intervention to support them remaining at school and going back to school. I do think we need a public health approach. I think that's really important. I think we need to question about why we're only looking at 30% of children with a need getting support from CAMS, which means that 70% of children with mental health difficulties aren't getting support. And I think it's the classic, we need a multi-system, multidisciplinary approach to really look after these children and support them in returning to schools when they can.
OK, we'll leave it there. Sarah Dove, thank you very much for your thoughts here on Sky News.
Thank you.